Hey there, chipmunks! Welcome to the AMP Cycling Ride Review Series. I'm your host, Angry Chipmunk, and today we're back in Italy riding Scarlino Scalo. This route is available on Rouvy, so let's get right to it. This is a moderate length ride at just under 30 kilometers long with an extremely moderate 242 meters of elevation gain. The whole ride averages just 1%, and Rouvy says that it peaks at 12%. More on this in a moment. There are no Strava segments listed on Rouvy, but there are 5 on Strava itself. 2 of them are the partial and whole route, with the other 3 being the main climbs. Now, the peak gradient listed by Rouvy is a small dip in the road under a small bridge. It's so extremely short that I'm not sure it's actually this steep. Strava doesn't show a peak of 12%, and the rest of the short incline is only about 8%. I think there was some kind of error here, as there are several other odd discrepancies in this route's gradient. So, don't be put off by that 12%, it's a small blip that won't affect the ride in any way. Now, the first of the Strava segments is Salita Scarlino. It's at the 1.3 kilometer mark, is 3.05 kilometers long with 44 meters of elevation gain, averaging 1.4% and peaking at 5.3%. This segment is quite long and includes plenty of riding before the climbing. I'd say about half the segment is very mellow, flat, and uphill. The main bit of the hill is not very steep, and is a gradual incline from around 2 to 5%. It has a small dip to another short uphill that only gets to about 4.5% before leveling out again. There's nothing really tricky about this segment at all. The route leading into it is much the same, so you're good to just travel along as you were. Just following the segment is a nice long stretch of mellow downhill road, so if you want to push for a good time, there's loads of recovery space before the next segment. The second Strava segment is called Folonica Climb. It's at the 9.7 kilometer mark, is 880 meters long with 55 meters of elevation gain, averaging 6.2% and peaking at 9%. This one appears on screen as a sudden and sharp jump from light yellow to dark orange. The Rouvy car turns a corner and you're immediately onto the climb. It does start steeper and mellows as it goes, so if you're wanting a good time on this one, be sure to be ready with your gear selection for a nice big push. The starting gradients ramp quite quickly from about 5.5% to 8% and then slowly back off. There is a nice bit of recovery after this segment as well, so pushing hard here is totally doable. If you're a sit and spin kind of rider, watch for that change in color and grab an easy gear before you get to it. The last segment is Salita Piandalma. It's at the 14.8 kilometer mark. It is 3.51 kilometers long with 103 meters of elevation gain, averaging 2.9% and peaking around 7.5%. This segment also starts a long way out from the climbing bit, with the hill really not starting until about the 16 kilometer mark. This one does get a bit steeper as it goes, with the first half to 2/3 of the hill being pretty steadily at 4 to 4.5%. There's a short false flat before the climbing again, but here you'll be seeing 5 to 7% for the most part. If you're wanting to do well on this one, just keep in mind where the segment starts and remember to push all the way till the downhill. From the end of the last hill to the end of the route is very mellow and flat. However, once you get into the small town, things do get a bit funky. I had put in my notes that the gradients didn't match what you were seeing and experiencing on screen, and up until the last segment, I couldn't work out what I was referencing. But going back and looking carefully, once you get into the small town, the gradients you experience and the video don't really line up. There are several small orange blips on the route profile. You'll be going steadily down a hill, but it shows a 3% incline. They're not massive inclines here, but being right at the end of the route makes them stand out as annoying and wrong. But for this ride, I would suggest a warm-up and cool-down for your intended effort. It's a decently flat stage, so if you're wanting to have a nice cruisy ride at the end of the day, you can get away with no warm-up or cool-down, provided you use the route for both. If you want to push pretty hard, I would suggest 5 to 10 minutes on either side of this one. And as always, I recommend pre-fueling your rides and including plenty of protein with that. This one is not really a challenging ride where you'll be needing loads of carbs, so I would definitely suggest the pre-fuel. This way you can avoid having to fuel during the ride itself. or if you do need to fuel, it can just be a light snack somewhere in the middle. If you can't pre-fuel, have a quick 10 to 20 grams during your warm-up. This should see you good for the whole ride. This is a good one to use on calorie deficit days as it's a none too taxing of a route. The view on this ride was mildly disappointing. Usually I love Italian countryside rides and have picked many routes simply because it was a meandering squiggle through Tuscany. This one was just a little dull. The colors didn't pop off the screen. The traffic was quite heavy throughout most of the route, and some of the ride just looked like highway. The start of the route is a bit sunnier, so maybe it was just a cloudy day and not a dirty camera, I don't know. But either way, it just didn't pull me in. The scenery wasn't bad, but also nothing noteworthy either. I went at a moderate pace for this one and finished it in just over 1 hour on 100% difficulty emulation. If you're going for a light ride, I would say to budget anywhere from an hour and a half to an hour 45 minutes. If you're going to be pushing pretty hard, budget at least 1 hour, including warm-up and cool-down. Overall, this is an okay route that is suitable for most levels of rider. It is flat enough that if you're needing an in-between route to surround bigger climbs, it can be quite suitable. Or if you're not quite a new rider but not really ready for lots of climbing, this can be a good choice. The hills here are not super steep and not very long, so even if you don't have good climbing legs, you can still spin up them with good recovery following them. For this route, I give a 4 out of 5. It's not a bad route at all. It has a multitude of uses and it isn't overly difficult. It's a good one for an evening spin if you don't want to be on the bike for 2+ hours. For the climbs, 1 out of 5. They're all quite short and none too steep. An experienced rider will not find much of a challenge here. A newer rider might need to watch the pacing to not burn out too quickly before the steep bits, but watching the route profile should make this no problem. For the view, 3 out of 5. It does have a nice mix of country and small town, just with everything being so washed out, I couldn't really enjoy it. The amount of traffic was also a huge distraction to me, especially when it passes very close to the camera car. I know it's not there for real, but it still gives that slight nervousness that the car didn't actually see you. And overall, 3.5 out of 5. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It does have some good uses, but I wouldn't recommend it for the beautiful Italian views or climbs. There's another version of this route, which is about twice as long with 4 times the elevation gain. I unfortunately didn't capture this one, so I don't remember what it was like in comparison. Well, that's it for this review, so thanks for watching, chipmunks. Let me know what you think of the Scarlino Scalo route if you complete it, and if you've ridden it for real, let me know what the gradients are really like. I'll leave you to finish the rest of the ride, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks for another review. Until then, ride on, chipmunks, ride on.